Hi, welcome to the Cardano channel. My name's Justin, and this is video number 3 of the meetup series that I've been running. This video is about the ICO, the white paper, and the general academic approach that Cardano is taking to this project. Cardano was funded by ICO. That ICO raised 63 million US, and the token price was 2 cents. And after 2 years of development through IOHK, it was bootstrapped in September 2017. Now, the thing that really differentiates Cardano from the crowd of altcoins in my mind is that the project is being built with a very sound academic and engineering approach to design and implementation. An example of this is the white paper. All projects are supposed to be programmed implementations of the functionality that's described in their white papers. So if you think about it, the white paper is quite important. Cardano's white paper has been written by published academic experts from around the world. It was written by a team of cryptographers from various universities around the world. Now, if you compare that to the decent altcoins, like the better altcoins, where the white paper is written by the lead developer or a small team of developers from the project. These guys are typically not cryptographers and their designs have not been peer reviewed. Then if you drop down to the levels of, most of the shit coins, well, their white papers tend to be plagiarized or just fabricated fantasy solutions to fantasy problems. Anyway, here's a video where Charles Hoskinson explains the academic approach they've taken.
They're very well represented, and they're mostly in control of the Western world governments. So they have absolutely all the freedom in the world to continue trying to save everyone. But there's not many libertarians with a lot of power. And now we have something at our disposal, this cryptocurrency. So what do we have in mind? What do we think we can do? Well, first off, Cardano is nothing new. It's just an extension of the concept of a cryptocurrency. And what is a cryptocurrency? It's basically a way of accounting facts and circumstances. It's a way of accounting value. It's a way of accounting ownership. So all those problems I mentioned, things like property. If you can represent money on a blockchain, you can represent property on a blockchain. And nobody controls that. There is no notion of a central registrar that decides who owns what. It's just whoever registered and how you put records in. And there's a social process to decide what that means, but it's not mutable by the local government, and they can't be bribed to change records. That's the power of immutability and auditability. Then you look at identity. You say, well, you can put property in a ledger. Can't you put identity in a ledger? Sure. There's plenty of beautiful blockchain standards that are starting to emerge and great ideas that are starting to emerge about how to do that. And once you have a stable place that you can put identity in a ledger, well, doesn't that mean you can start talking about, are those actors good people or bad people? Yes, you can, just like on eBay. Once you have a seller rating, you can be a good seller or a bad seller, right? You have good content, bad content. Similarly, you can say, I traded with Bob, and Bob treated me fairly. And because you have a financial system connected to it, you can do all kinds of things. Like you can bond, say if they screw you, you get some money, and there's a guarantee you'll get paid, and the escrow is somewhere else. There's complex transactions that you can put in, and these don't require a government or a central third party like Facebook to decide how that's going to work. For lending, smart contracts can do all of these things. You can basically build an entire decentralized lending system. You can take exactly what Grameen Bank has done or Kiva's done or any of these wonderful firms that want to go save the world or Lending Club, and you can put it all on a blockchain if you want. You can even entertain the idea of building a value stable currency. Something that looks like a cryptocurrency, but it's pegged to something like the pound or to the dollar, and then use that as a lending asset. So all of these things are possible, and there are literally thousands of entrepreneurs floating around the world who are very well capitalized. They have billions of dollars, and they have a mandate to build these things, a financial incentive to build these things, not because they want to save the world, but because if they do, they get rich. And that's how you know stuff gets done. Not when you bet on altruism, it's when you bet on greed. That's kind of the magic of cryptocurrencies, is they brought this to the forefront. So we in particular at Cardano, we said, first things first, for this protocol, let's start from bedrock and first principles. There was one actor that was not represented in the cryptocurrency movement, And it was just amazing to us when we entered this space. The academy, the university. Before we entered in, they had all these small research groups, occasionally writing papers, mostly scoffing at the ineptitude, arrogance, and lack of skill of cryptocurrency engineers. They would publish attacks, they would publish models showing that things couldn't be possible, but for the most part, if you showed up at a cryptography conference in 2014, like Crypto or Eurocrypt, and you say, I do cryptocurrencies, you know what they would say? They'd say like, oh sure, get over there. It was really hard. They didn't take it seriously. Why? Because you have amateurs implementing crypto. And we've been burnt by this for decades. And so very rightfully so, people understand that you probably shouldn't do these things. And when you have people running around claiming infinite scalability, free transactions, latency in the milliseconds, and send a transaction anywhere in the world, and it always clears, and there's never going to be a failure, and all the models are right, and there's no actual rigor behind it, there's no peer review behind it, the academy doesn't take you seriously. They throw you out. They consider you to be an undergraduate mathematics who thinks they've solved the Goldbach conjecture. You're ignored. And so the first contribution we made with the Cardano project is we were very humble. We went creative research centers. We went to Scotland, to Edinburgh, just there. We went to Tokyo Tech. We went to University of Athens, and we set up actual labs. We hired a bunch of people with PhDs, and we said, hey, let's do some first principles foundational research on cryptocurrencies. So we asked questions like, what is a ledger? A blockchain, what is that? Do we actually have a good definition for this? Do we even know what properties it's supposed to have? Do we know when it's secure and when it's not secure? Turns out we didn't actually have an answer to this. So we wrote a paper about it. The paper went through peer review. Then we said, okay, this proof of stake thing, it's kind of funny. Some people say it doesn't work. They say that doesn't work very loudly over and over again. Do we have an answer to that? Does it work or not? Is it secure? And under what conditions is it secure? Is it practical? Can it ever be fast? Did the economics of it work out? So we just started publishing papers. We published Ouroboros and Scrape and Ouroboros Praus, and we have Ouroboros Praus, let's see here, blockchain from bootstrap from Genesis, so BG, and then after that we'll have Ouroboros Hydra. We have a whole list of papers we've written, and it's taken me from California, and in April I'll go into Israel to Eurocrypt, and we present these papers to the academic community. And you know what's happened? They're actually taking this seriously now. They're saying, wow, people are actually taking the effort to show that there are interesting problems to solve. We can augment our CVs. We can get tenure from actually getting involved in this space. It's not all just scams and ICOs. There's academic merit to the things that we want to do. And now we've seen dozens of scientists start writing more papers. If you look at the amount of publications from 2015 to 2016 to 2017 to this year, they just keep growing up by a curve like this. There's tons of money being flooded into this space. So that's the first thing, is you have to get the academy involved. You have to get the adults involved in this thing. And you have to actually understand what are the problems you're really trying